You said that for the first 53 years of your life, you lived in the before and now you live in the after. Can you explain to us what that is for someone who's never heard you talk about the before and the after?
Many people in the neck of the woods where we live in the Middle East, in Israel, were changed so profoundly and dramatically that for me, I divide time in between that demarcation line of everything before in my life, from the day I was born until that morning of October 7th, 2023.
Rachel Goldberg-Polin is an American-Israeli activist who lives in Jerusalem. On October 7th, 2023, Hamas attacked music festival attendees on the border between the Gaza Strip and Israel. More than 1,200 people were killed and 251 were kidnapped, including Rachel's son, Hirsch.
He was terribly injured. His dominant left forearm was blown off while he and many other music lovers were hiding in a bomb shelter from terrorists who had run across the border in Israel. 18 of them were killed in that bomb shelter, and Hirsch, along with 3 other young men, were kidnapped.
Rachel, her family, and the families of other hostages have advocated every day for their release. After 328 days, the bodies of Hirsch and 5 other hostages were found in a tunnel underneath Gaza where they had been executed.
I think akin to a lot of what people are asking, who may understand loss of a loved one to cancer or to an opiate addiction, but not to something so violent as an attack followed by a kidnapping, followed by dismemberment, followed by captivity, right?
Yes.
My question is how? How do you go on? How do you carry this?
Well, I very much acknowledge it. I very much talk to Hirsch throughout the day. I talk to God throughout the day. I talk to other people who have similar situations. I'm very new to this, and I don't speak with authority. I just speak about what I'm experiencing, which is I am convinced that the pain doesn't get lighter. It doesn't get lighter. This is something that I will carry and that loved ones carry when they lose someone very close to them, that I will schlep that around and carry it for the rest of my life. But what I can hope for and what I'm aspiring toward is to get stronger so that I learn how to carry it with more grace.
Despite her son's death, Rachel has continued to speak out for the release of the remaining hostages and traveling around the world speaking to leaders, global elites, the Pope, and anyone willing to listen.
You became kind of a symbol, tragically, of these families. And so both your pain and your grief have thrust you into the spotlight. What is that like? I imagine it can be both comforting and exhausting.
I think that's true. I think that's accurate. On the one hand, I'm grateful that people know who Hirsch is, who Hirsch was. People know what he was passionate about. People have heard vignettes about him. And that takes some of the heaviness off of feeling like I have to explain who was my son. And on the other hand, as you said, it's always horrible going through any sort of pain and suffering publicly and being watched when you're not at your best, which certainly when someone's in agony, we're not at our best. And so that's uncomfortable.
2 years since she was thrust into the spotlight, Rachel's probing what comes next. Her appeal has grown beyond the Jewish world. victims of all kinds are reaching out to her for consolation. Kids lost to suicide and overdoses from Idaho to Venezuela.
Often it's right around half are parents from everywhere. Sometimes it's a sibling of someone who's lost someone. A few times it's been a grandparent. We're all in pain. It's actually a real unifier, which is tragic.
Israel has faced worldwide condemnation for its ongoing military campaign in Gaza, which has led to the deaths of more than 64,000 people, according to the Hamas-run Gazan Health Ministry.
One of the ways in which, you spoke differently than other hostage families at the beginning and have continued to is that you always seem to think of this counterpart, this mother in Gaza. And you recently said in an interview that you think by this point her son has also died. Of the dozens of people that have reached out, have you ever heard from a bereaved family in Gaza?
I haven't. But I don't know if they have cell coverage or my contact. But I know that there are thousands of innocent civilians, and not even just in Gaza. In our world, this is the way that war works. It's always the innocent who suffer the most. It's always civilians who suffer the most in these conflicts. And I definitely feel a solidarity with those families who've just been caught in the crosshairs and whose children and loved ones have been used as pawns in a game. I always felt that while Hirsch was alive, that we were being pawns in a game, and I still feel that.
You talk about moving away from the why, or people will ask you to talk about the why, but you're asking a different question.
Often people shout to the universe, why is this happening to me? I actually don't have that experience. I am faithful that there is a why. I might not know the why. My question that I often find myself asking is, what? What am I to do with this? I have been given this why. I've been given this challenge. I've been given this opportunity to experience the depths of suffering and anguish and misery. What do I do with this? Because I don't think it's random, and therefore I want to pick up the ball that's been thrown to me and do the next thing that's supposed to happen in the pattern of